Last video from type 5. If you're watching this video, that means that you have already finished 1, 2, and 3 from part A. That you did 3 by yourself, you checked it with the neighbor, you both got the same answer, you're ready to move on. Hopefully you've even attempted this by yourself as well, and maybe you have a question still, or you're just not sure. Now the reason that I'm choosing to do this one is because 1, now we have no restrictions, so I want to make sure you got it. And 2, because I hear a lot of y'all saying that you're having trouble with the reciprocal trig functions, so we're going to deal with that here. Alright, here we go. Now we got secant squared. Shall we do it again? Ask yourself, can you combine like terms? I got a secant squared and a secant can't be combined because they don't have the same exponent. So the answer is no. That means the first thing we do is get it equal to 0. Already done. Check for a GCF. No GCF. Moving on to factoring. Now this is the easier form of factoring, and then I just need 2 numbers that multiply to be 2 and add to be -3. So how about 2 and 1 multiply to be 2? To add to be negative, they both need to be negative. -2 minus 1. I believe this was similar to the previous one, so we've got secant of x, not squared anymore, -2, and secant of x minus 1 is equal to 0. So we're factoring it. Secant times secant, we'll get a secant squared. Secant times -1, negative secant, minus 2 secant is -3 secant. -2 times -1 is +2. So we know we've done it right. Now we've got 2 factors that multiply to be 0, so we can set each one individually equal to 0. So secant of x is equal to 2. Is it okay that I did that? Just went ahead and passed the 2 to the other side, right? We have secant of x minus 2 is equal to 0, plus 2 gives us +2. Similarly, secant of x is going to be equal to +1. Kind of jumping a step there. Hope that's all right. We did +1 to get 0 plus 1, 1. All right, we don't like secant, right? We want to change it to be something that we do like. Cosine, 1 over cosine. 1 over cosine of x is equal to 2. Remember, we only changed the trig side. 2 doesn't change because secant's the same thing as 1 over cosine. Now we're going to take the reciprocal of both sides. So the reciprocal of 1 over cosine is cosine of x. The reciprocal of 2 over 1 is 1 over 2. Same thing over here. 1 over cosine of x is equal to 1. The reciprocal of 1 is still 1, so nothing changes over there. Okay, now we can solve for our angle for both of them. Okay, if you want to skip this step, that's okay. If you're able to jump straight down here, that's totally fine. You don't have to show your work for this. But do show your work if you think you're going to make a mistake somewhere. So cosine, reading to the right, we need to have one finger up. So we've got pi over 3. No restrictions, but I want you to keep it in radians for now. X is equal to pi over 3. Now cosine is positive, where our x-axis is positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. Pi over 3 is in quadrant 1. Down here we've got 6 pi over 3, so 1 less would be 5 pi over 3 would be our other solution. Or you can do pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 3 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, 5 pi over 3 gets us into quadrant 4. Okay. Now we have no restrictions. That means we've got to do that plus 2 in pi. Okay. So plus 2 in pi plus 2 in pi. Now our answers are complete for this side. Now we got to deal with cosine. So cosine of x is equal to 1. Over here, that's at 0. We can also be at 2 pi. We can also be at 4 pi. We can also be at 6 pi. So x is equal to 0 plus 2 in pi. So remember, when you have no restrictions, you got to add that 2 in pi. That does it. Now you should do part 2 by yourself. Check with a neighbor, check with me, make sure you got it right, and then move on to type 6. Y'all are flying. I'm super proud. Keep it up. Go, go, go.